Hey everybody, this is Andrew Lee here with Health Mutual Network and your admin over at the California Insurance Agents Group. And I am joined today by a very special guest. We have Marc Glickman from Buddy Insurance, Buddy INS. Is it
Yep,
interchangeable?
that's right. Or you call us buddy ins. That's so cool too.
Buddy ins, buddy ins, buddy out, buddy ins.
Exactly.
Um, and he has a very successful, I mean, he's a killer in the long-term care field. And, we've met at Medicarians for the first time last year. And I also had him on when the group started too, when the group was fresh at the time. Mark was kind enough to pop in and share his knowledge. He's based out of you're in Calabasas still, right?
Correct.
In that area.
Mhm.
So again, we want to welcome Mark back to the pod, and he's a wealth of knowledge. So I mean, that's literally why he's here, right? I mean, he, you guys are probably going to be in the same boat as me. I am not the expert at long-term care. I never considered myself an expert. Mark is, right? So, I'm going to take this time to one, again, thank you for being on, and two, just hey, what is new right now? For maybe the people in long-term care, what
Mhm.
is what is new right now? What are some pressing matters? What are some things that you want to get off your chest that other long-term care agents should know about in 2023?
Yeah, and Andrew, thanks for having me on. Love nerding out about long-term care, so I appreciate you tolerating that and spending some time, shedding a spotlight on it. I would say the biggest thing right now that's going on in long-term care is the work site slash group long-term care market. And more, even if you're an individual agent, we see more individual agents starting to operate in the group space because there's now employer funded strategies. You can acquire a lot of clients. It's a low cost, product, guaranteed issue products. So we have a lot more options for people with health issues. And I would say that's the most common request I'm getting today is, Mark, how do I get into group if I'm used to working with individuals and get used to the carriers and the process there?
Got it. And is that learning curve pretty steep, would you say, for somebody like, let's say me, a health?
Well, I would say it depends on how much experience you have with working with groups already. So if you do group health, if you do voluntary benefits, it's not as steep because you know how to work with HR and with employers and business owners. And we try to make a lot of analogies because the way they offer group long-term care, there's a lot of similarities to how you offer individual long-term care. It's
Gotcha.
still about the client's why factor, right?
Yeah.
Why are they asking about long-term care in the first place? Talking about caregiving, right? We have 50 million family caregivers, right? Almost everybody has an ear and a heart for wanting to solve those issues. So you're still opening up the conversation in a very similar way. The harder part is the solutions are different, the products, the carriers are different. How to implement a group enrollment is very intimidating, right?
Right.
We're actually a technology partner for that. That's why we're kind of in business is we're trying to make it easier to do business in long-term care, and that's where we try to educate.
Yeah, which is very interesting because generally, an insurance agent, right? It's a guy with a book of business or guy or girl with a book of business, maybe a brick and mortar, sit down, be on your computer, sell some policies over the phone, go to an appointment, right? It seems like you're a little bit outside of that realm and you're sort of dipping your feet into, other sources of marketing and just being again neutral to sort of what you want to maybe just being in the field to just help out whoever is like an orphan, doesn't have any contracts or doesn't have the
Yeah.
right mentors or what have you. And that's very, I mean, anybody that's doing pretty well is generally in that space, just in that advisory role kind of thing. It's like if it
Yeah.
comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But with that being said, Mark, just a little bit about you. How did you start off in the industry, and
Yeah.
what led you here? And then you can take as much time with that as you want, or you can fly through it. We got some time here.
Okay.
Definitely.
Well, I kind of have a unique story. I think probably very few people grow up and say, I'm going to be an insurance agent, right? Yeah, I think a lot of people raise their hand. Well, I started off actually as an actuary developing products for the insurance company. So probably a very different path there too. But I saw where all the action was happening in terms of helping more clients in long-term care. It really had to be on the front lines, building sales and marketing technology to make it easier to do business. And so that's really why I got my licenses, and really we blossomed from there. Is like best way to help more people is to go into the trenches and to help agents do it. So that's what we do. We partner with agents to make it easier.
Interesting. So did you have somebody sort of mentor you into that, or did you just have a Google mentality and just sort of find things out yourself?
I was very fortunate in a way that I was born into the long-term care space. My dad
Ah,
was one of the pioneers.
I
A very
gotcha.
common story, right?
Okay.
Probably a fourth generation
Oh
insurance
wow.
professional. My grandfather had a long-term care agency, so it runs deep in my blood.
Okay. All right.
But so I didn't fall into it that far, from the tree, so to speak. But I definitely took a different path. With my grandfather was a true insurance agent, actually group health insurance and long-term care. My dad was an actuary, kind of insurance company executive, and I'm on the technology side. But obviously, common threads at all three of those things are really important to the ecosystem of helping people get more plans.
Yeah, I mean that's a good way to keep the legacy going, man. If it stopped with you, I mean it can't stop with you because you got the technology going on for you. So I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, my son, he's 8 years old. He's like, so how is the Buddy Inn's business account going? So,
oh
he's
wow.
interested too.
It's like one day I just watched The Godfather yesterday, and I just remember the scene where the kid's like, maybe I can help you, and he's like, one day.
One day. Yeah.
That's cool. So yeah, nice. So you're fourth generation agent, which I've never had a fourth generation agent onto the podcast. So that's a milestone in itself. So you started off as an actuary, you blended into what you're doing now. When did you hit your stride? When did you feel like you're like, okay, I'm not just, I'm not fishing so much for business. I'm not like I wouldn't say hustling, but because there's different, versions of hustling
Sure.
throughout your career. When were you like, okay, this is it. Now it's time to scale.
Well, I think when we started Buddy Inns, which was like 4 years ago, we were very fortunate. You have to be fortunate. You have to plant a lot of seeds, but you have to be lucky as well. And our first partners are still our biggest partners, our most important partners. And we had a business model where we wanted to take existing relationships and opportunities and enhance them with digital marketing, bring in a kind of a vetted team of like top long-term care specialists, and we thought that formula would lead to a lot more production, and it did. But that's a very hard model to put together and to find. So I would say we've gone through phases, which is kind of like a startup. Like each year, it's kind of been a startup in a different area as we've grown our business. The first year, just launching and to scale that model, which is like a joint work kind of model. The next year, the Washington state payroll tax happened that really lifted the long-term care market, and we had a scalable system, and we had a lot of specialists doing a lot of business with Washington employees. The next year was building a technology, and now we're kind of in this launching of all this new technology. We're like an insure tech. So I would say I don't even feel like I've gotten out of the treadmill in the
Mm.
startup, because we're always launching something new, but we have multiple lines of business now, and that's helpful. Diversification and also a lot of synergy. The technology build helps our joint work partners, helps other agencies and agents grow their block of business too.
Gotcha. So for the agent that doesn't know what LTC is, long-term care is, I know you sort of went into that a little bit earlier, but just like in simple English, what's long-term care? How do you sell it?
Yeah.
Like what's the income involved in that? And just sort of the business aspect of what you do.
Yeah, so I would think of long-term care like any protection product. It's sold very similarly to life insurance, disability income. They're protection products because you don't want to have to think about the events that might happen, but you're happy that you have some financial solution for it when it does. So long-term care, they oftentimes call it extended care. It's really what you need when either you have an accident or illness that requires someone to come in your home, usually, and take care of you, or when you get to older ages, right? Yourself, your parents, your grandparents, right? You need to figure out what is that plan going to be to help support them again in those later years, right, where it's kind of more frail. So again, something people don't want to think about, but almost everyone's impacted by. We
Mm,
talked about caregiving, and a lot of times we start off with just talking about what's your story. Both of my sets of grandparents, even the ones that owned the insurance agency, needed long-term care, right? And they had a policy, so we had professional caregivers that took care of them. And what a relief that was for my family,
mm.
right? So that's the key, like, talking point and understanding point. As soon as you share your story, your client shares their story with you. So most people actually get into long-term care for client acquisition,
Mm,
right? It is one of the best relationship building products there is out there because you're learning intimate facts about the client, health, financial, and then helping them with an important issue that they care about. And then they say, well, what else should I be doing? Right. And that's where you have this opportunity to offer other types of products to them. The commission side obviously is there too, but you really have to be efficient with the business because that's what makes it the temptress in a way. Long-term care is like, it sounds really good. A lot of people want to get into it. But then when you try to implement the business, if you're not doing it full time, you're not going to sell anything.
mm,
It's almost like an all or nothing type of thing. So you have to go into it with the right mentality, doing it the right way, and have partners to help you, or else, like you said, it's like going to be not a good ROI, in terms of like Google searching and trying to do it yourself.
got it. Yeah, because I remember when you were first explaining to me on our other video that we did, about just like the process of acquiring the client. It's a very much a labor of love. Whereas,
Mm-hmm.
what I sort of do is, it's a quick hit, right? So a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, and I think there's different like transactional types of insurance business and there's relationship types of insurance business. This is very much on the relationship side where you have to be touching base with that client, 6, 12, 18, 24 months
Mhm.
before they're ready to buy. And that's where having a marketing and a system in place is really valuable
Right,
because it's not going to be a quick hit, not even in a payroll tax, it's still relationship based even in that type of environment. So it's
right.
not a quick sale.
Right. Yeah. So that's yeah. I was like, wow, okay, completely different from what I do, but very interesting. So, um, let's nerd out. Let's nerd out. So, we got over the beginner to 101 crash course. For all the and I want to do this so I can weed out all of the people watching on YouTube and in the group to see who is a good who's stepping up as a good long-term care agent and saying, "Hey, Mark, I know exactly what you're talking about. We should get together and talk and trade ideas." Um,
Yeah.
for those people, what advice or what talking points do you have now that you just want to get off your chest? And by splash damage, we also get the content as well too.
Yeah.
Um, what words would you say to any other agents out there? Anything encouraging, or just what's the state of the union?
Sure.
Lay it on us.
Well, the key is to have a heart for this, right? At the end of the day, is like if you don't really get caregiving and it doesn't connect with you, probably LTC is not something you're going to bring up. You're going to want to talk about, and learn what's going on with your clients in that area, right? The first thing is that's really the key to it is have a heart for it. I get asked, like, what's the target market? We work with people as young as their 20s. We work with people as old as 106. I have a 106-year-old woman who we were able to get a long-term care plan. There really isn't an age target. It's more of a financial target, right? It's people usually want to fund a plan with professional care if they're able to fund their retirement. So that's why we see the target market being more like 45 to 65, right? Because at that point, whether that client is going to be worrying about paying their rent, their
Mm,
mortgage, getting retirement plans in place, or whether they actually have the wherewithal to plan beyond that, right? For having like a good outcome for their family with a long-term care situation. And if the answer to that is yes, and I would say about 25% of the people in the US, maybe a higher percentage in California, because there's some higher incomes in California, are good candidates for the insurance, then let's have a talk because there's a lot of different solutions out there. People think of long-term care. This is one of my big pet peeves, Andrew. You're kind of asking me that, like what rubs you kind of the wrong way is they hear traditional long-term care. We use 8 different types of insurance products to solve long-term care planning.
mm,
We use health-based products like traditional long-term care, short-term care in some states. We use annuity long-term care products. We use life long-term care products. So 8 different types of products, 30 different carriers. There's a lot of tools in the toolkit here.
right.
And you don't want to just say like, oh no, to your client, you're not a good candidate because you think it's one thing. And all of a sudden they have no plan, right? Or they're self-funding, which is kind of a euphemism for I don't want to buy insurance.
Right.
Like there's a lot of good stuff out there. So, go a little bit more extra mile. And we actually have a product recommendation engine that we've put out there now. So put in client information. Here's which type of product you should explore. You might be surprised. It's not what you think it is. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, do you feel like operate as a traditional type of long-term care agency, or
Mhm.
are there other long-term care agencies out there that do things different from you?
I would say we've taken a lot of the fundamentals, and there are a lot of our mentors and that are long-term care agencies been doing it 20 or 30 years. The fundamental sales process is still the same. The tools and the solutions are different. And
Also,
the hybrid solutions, which most people have heard of hybrid solutions. There's like 200 different products now. 30 years ago, maybe there was one product. 20 years ago, maybe a couple of products. It used to be 100 traditional products and like two hybrids.
mhm.
Now it's a few traditional and 200 hybrids.
Yeah.
And they're all different. So that's what's really changed is you have to look for hybrids that have LTC focused benefits, meaning that, after you use the life insurance death benefit, you have long-term care as an extension of those benefits. And then that's providing more LTC coverage to that client, and less of that client's premium is going towards the life insurance. So
Mm,
it's more of an LTC delivery vehicle than even a life insurance product, right?
gotcha.
Everyone that's using that product is using it for a long-term care need, not
Ah, okay.
for a life need. So that's really where the tools have changed and you have to kind of understand the marketplace. And that's what we're trying to do to make it easier to know when to go in that direction. But it's hard because the existing even agencies out there, they've only focused on one particular niche there. So even through your agency, you might not be getting exposed to 7 other types of products. Maybe they only sell hybrid, they only sell traditional. So that's where it's important to be holistic and to be open-minded that, hey, what
Mm,
that guy across the street is offering is not bad just because you haven't heard of it, right? Could be that hidden gem that, you need to explore and understand why that client is buying that product, right? Because
yeah.
the tools aren't bad, right? Good or bad. It's just how you apply them to the right type of situation.
I mean, that's beautifully said because that applies in other lines too, as you probably already know, right? I mean,
Yes.
for example, let's say because I'm in the ACA field, right? You
Uh-huh.
know, everybody thinks that you have to go with this ACA plan or like this short-term plan or Medicare or Medi-Cal or employer coverage, right? They don't know that you can stack these like in that limited benefit plans on top of like maybe a religious health share plan.
Uh-huh.
And there's multiple ways to skin a cat, sort of, when you quote a major medical policy or something that replaces a major medical policy, like a Cover California if it's too expensive. But
Yes.
the guy down the street doesn't know this information.
Exactly. In
You
fact,
know,
they probably expect to get it through their employer, and now employers are trying to get more of their, employees, right? Like looking for their own coverage, right?
yeah,
Ultimately, a lot of different, and I think the markets are always changing. We're seeing that in health insurance quite a bit now. That's what we've seen in long-term care. I think the life insurance agents too, and the annuity agents are nodding their heads too, because like IUL products, do I use it for accumulation? Do I use it for protection? Right? It's the same kind of understanding is understand the needs of your client, understand the tools and what they're good at doing. That's what makes you a specialist in that area. And that's what your clients are going to look for in terms of growing your book of business.
right. No, I mean that's perfect. I mean that is the answer I expected from you. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So good deal. So moving forward, I mean, we're talking about sort of the future of long-term care, and I think that's an exciting topic in itself.
Yeah.
And we could probably do a whole hour on this. But what are some cool things happening with long-term care within the next hypothetical 2 years or so?
Okay. Well, the big thing, like I mentioned, is the group long-term care space is exploding. Last year, 60,000 people in the country got long-term care insurance through traditional or extension rider hybrids, like the ones that we were talking about. Probably over 300,000 people got long-term care through their employer. So it's a magnitude higher now, and it's growing 50% a year. So more and more, your next door neighbor, like my next door neighbor, is going to get offered long-term care from their employer. And it's really important to know what's going on there. It's really important to be a part of that because the benefit brokers, even on the employer side, they need help with long-term care education and understand the products and the value and how to offer it too. So we're doing more technology, joint work with the employer benefits world. We're doing a lot more in terms of a guaranteed issue plan as like a starter plan, right? Because long-term care is not quick and easy. That's not what the first thing that comes to mind. On the group side, because it's guaranteed issue and we have enrollment platforms that can make it 5 to 10 minutes to get your policy in hand, it's quick and easy now. So you're getting a plan that you can build off of. kind of like what we see with group life or group disability, where people might get a starter plan through their employer and then they might supplement that with individual coverage. Because we
Right.
know it's not the be all end all. We know that you can get more protection in place, but
Right.
you're acquiring a client, you're educating them, you're talking about the cost of care, and that opens up the door to helping them further. And now that we have that group market, which really just emerged in the last couple of years, there's a new carrier entering that market every 2 months right now. I heard about another one last week. So it's just like I said, the more carriers that are there, the more supply of products, the more strategies we'll have and different solutions. And because it's like a mass marketing type of play, right? We're talking about large employers like Disney has enrolled. That's where my neighbor's wife got the offer for her plan.
Oh,
We
wow.
got large associations that can even offer long-term care to their members on a guaranteed issue basis now. Those obviously tap into this mass audience where the individual products, while they're good, they're still hard to work with in terms of doing business, underwriting, all of that stuff. The quick and easy, right, is going to be really getting it through those as a starter plan.
Gotcha. Okay. So, Mark, that was awesome. I mean, as a guy that knew 5% about this, now I know about 9%. So,
It's
so
okay. Nerd out with me and you'll keep increasing that
there you
percentage.
go. Might have to keep doing this. Um, hey, Mark, I really appreciate your time and I want to be respectful of it. Is there anything you wanted to plug or anything you wanted to share to the people out there watching in California?
Okay. Well, I'd say the big thing that we're doing is we're all about mass education, breaking down barriers, walls, right? So, working with us, we have a few different ways to do it. The newest one is actually we've licensed our technology. So you can actually get a subscription and you can get access to all of our product knowledge, all of our sales tools. Just go to buddyins.com and it'll say sign up for the agent portal. There's a free version, there's a free trial even, and then there's like a $49 a month premium version. And ultimately, that's probably the best way if you want to get into it to learn on like a self-service basis.
Okay.
We also have a study group each week that meets. So we'll have like 50 to 100 long-term care nerds like me on talking about different topics, different products they're presenting. So that's a kind of a fun community to be a part of. And it doesn't matter who your BGA is. Again, we're agnostic, to hierarchy. We just want to get more solutions into your hands and have more people offering long-term care. Because you know what there's a big shortage of? It's interesting. It's not demand for long-term care. And the carrier is actually a pretty robust supply of products now. There's a shortage of long-term care agents.
That's what I was thinking.
That's what's holding the market back right now.
Oh my goodness.
So
So
anything I can
you're
do to
wrong.
help that problem, I'm wanting to do, right?
I mean, you're only one man though, you know. I
Yeah,
know you have a team. I mean,
yeah,
can you handle all of that? Because I know some
right.
agents are gonna watch this video and maybe want to do long-term care after you said that.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, it used to be, you'd have some captive companies out there, right, that were training agents on long-term care,
Yeah,
but they just haven't been doing that in the last, 10 years or so.
yeah,
So we're kind of filling that void. And like I said, if you have a heart for this, if you have advocates that are clients that advocate for this, you'll
yeah.
want to be plugged into either the technology or the groups, and you'll find opportunities there.
That's why you're designated as our correspondent for LTC in the group. I unofficially just dubbed you that, and hopefully,
Very cool.
that works with you as well too. But yeah, no, that's awesome stuff. Again, I love learning about other lines, especially when it's. I mean, I'm gonna say it's completely different from what I do. I mean, let's just be real. Even though it's
Sure.
sort of in the same vein and just sort of cousin products, it's very interesting stuff. I mean, there's just so much. There's so many ways to make money. Just really quick before we leave
Sure.
here. What's a what's the what is sort of the evolution of like how much money you make from year
Sure.
one to let's say year five?
Because the sales cycle is very long in long-term care, you have to be aware that if you're starting it from scratch, it takes a while before the dollars roll in. And then it becomes very sticky because you have this pipeline, right? And then the clients are kind of maturing after 12 months, 18 months, et cetera. So that's really the key, is to have some type of marketing channel where you can keep the education going, keep dripping, because as soon as that client has that personal experience, who are they going to call? Right? That's when they're willing to take action. As soon as like the state passes that payroll tax, who are they going to call? So you have to be there early in front of them, and that's what leads to the success. But if I were in a new agent's shoes, 100%, I would refer business to a specialist to start off.
Mm,
Just shortcut that learning curve as much as you can. because that person has like learned every objection, they've learned every product already, they know the different types of clients, emotional clients, engineering types of client, analytical types of client. They just know how to handle and ask questions. It's a really consultative approach that you need to follow. And again, that's what we do is we try to facilitate joint work. It's not to like lock you into having to refer all your clients to somebody. It's to help you on a learning curve where you can see how they do it, because the ride along method is best with long-term care, right?
Okay.
There's only so much you can learn yourself without having a real case, to actually work on. And you don't want to practice on your friends and family and your most important clients when you don't have the experience. So like just bring in someone and that's the hardest thing sometimes to get people
Every
to
line
do.
has to do that too. Like, hey, if you
Yeah.
start off in PNC, go sell your auto insurance to your mom, or your
That's
medical
right.
to your grandma or your mom, or so it's hilarious that you say that, and it's every line that does that, which is hilarious.
Right, right. And I know you don't want to have another agent working with an important client. I get that, but like I said, let us introduce you. That's why we have these study groups too. It's to build relationships, to build trust, and to say, yeah, that person, they really know what they're doing.
Yeah,
So just, trust that process. And again, it's case by case. So we make it really quick and easy. We have like a referral form on our website, and we make sure that that client's being taken care of. That's the other thing is we don't like just send it to an agent and say like, okay, they're going to take care of it. We have a CRM, we actually have reporting, we track it. We're working with these people day in and day out. So at the end of the day, like that's the best way to start the business. It's the lowest cost, it's the highest revenue. And then as you develop that, you can decide, do I want to be a long-term care specialist? Do I want to have someone in my office do it? Right? Like you know what's involved and required to make it successful at that point.
got it. So you're one six figures.
You're talking about a new agent.
Yeah,
If you had like the perfect storm, I would say yes, but I would say, yeah, don't expect that. What ends up happening with long-term care too, especially with traditional long-term care, is the renewals are actually really good.
right. Okay.
So most of the agents we work with that have been in the business 20 years, their retirement plan is actually set
Yeah,
because
right.
they have this stream of renewals and nobody lapses the product. It's got like the lowest lapse rate of any product. So
Okay.
that's really the financial piece, is that you kind of have this built-in pension, you know, into it.
Ah,
But the first year piece of it, right? That's the hard part, is investing in it to build it, get it off the ground, and to build that volume, to build a book of renewals.
wow.
But that's where the money's at, I would say.
Wow. Yeah, I always preach to my ACA people or my life people turning into Medicare agents. Hey, this is, Medicare is giving you your legacy. This is just your front money right now doing those
Yep.
other products. But come to find out, long-term care is the actual pension, right? So
Yep. LTC has a lot of the carriers have a lifetime trail. Like the client actually has the policy for 50 years, you get 49 years of renewals.
you know what I mean? If you're a Medicare supplement agent, people don't know that your commission starts to dwindle year 7, and so
Exactly.
that's mind blowing that you say that. And Medicare Advantage plans, that's lifelong commissions, but it's so fickle sometimes, right? People just switching back and forth. Wow,
Yep.
long term care. Okay, the scales are lifted from my eyes. Um, where's a good place to find you? And I'll post this video up on the group and I'll
Sure.
tag you in it. So whatever you want to
Yeah.
also put in there as hyperlinks, you
Okay.
can do that in the comment sections. But just while I have you on video here, what are some of your websites that you wanted to plug, or some of the information where they can find you?
Okay, so yeah, go to buddyins.com, sign up for at least the free agent portal, so you'll get all this information about long-term care at your fingertips. We have a partner form as well. When you sign up for that, that will sign you up for the study group. Tag me in any questions you have in the Facebook group, right? I'll respond to your questions. I have a big presence on LinkedIn as well. I post a lot on LinkedIn. Again, feel free to tag me there. So I'm doing a lot on social media. And I'd say if you're in one of those channels, yeah, we're gonna become friends pretty quickly,
Yeah,
because we're very responsive to any questions that come up.
yeah. Don't you have a Facebook group as well too?
We do. We have a Ask the Long-Term Care Insurance Specialist Facebook group. Just ping it, join that Facebook group, post your questions there. You'll get over 1,000 long-term care specialists that will help answer your questions. And we all have, different opinions. Like we agree on the fundamentals, but everyone's got a different opinion. What product's best, right? Everyone's got different views on that. And that's what makes it great, right? Is there is no one right answer. AI
Right.
is not going to replace us, right? Because it's all about, yeah, right. It's all about relationships at the end of the day, and the solutions are very customized to somebody, what somebody really needs and wants, right? It's not like I could say this is what's best for you. It's like I ask you a bunch of questions and you pick your policy because of what you told me.
Right.
you know.
Right. Yeah, I mean, well, that sounds like what AI could do if in the health insurance field pretty soon here, and then the AI version of me actually looks better. Uh, so I don't know, but long-term care is safe. So,
Yeah.
all right. So yeah, again, I want to be respectful of your time here. Hey, thanks so much for popping on, Mark. And you're always a wealth of knowledge when you come on. And yeah, I'm glad that people can now be introduced to you and what you do. And I know that you're one of the members in the group that are going to be a huge resource. So again, I want to thank you for being on. And guys, please take the time to subscribe. Again, we're doing our best to get the biggest killers in California in their own respective lines, sharing information so that all of us can benefit from it. Information that you guys didn't know that even existed, and even proprietary. So please subscribe and please give a thumbs up. Please like this video. And if you guys like more of this, turn on that notification. Let's bug you to get you some more content. Mark, I really, really again want to appreciate you for being on here, and hopefully we can do this again.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, and I love being a part of the community. Thanks so much.
Yeah, of course, my pleasure.